She's to sick bay. The doctor should look at it as soon as possible.
It is the way in which we propagate our species.
Please demonstrate how this is accomplished.
So, what's next?
I don't know.
Well, howdy, partner, and welcome to Casual Trek, a Star Trek recap and ranking podcast brought to you by Nerd and Tie and Settler Colonialism. I'm Rootin' Tootin' Charlie Etheridge Nunn, a writer and a Deadwood fan. Pistol noise, pistol noise.
And I'm Dead-Eye Miles Dead-Eye Dick Reed Labato, science fiction writer, Westworld fan, and the wildest gunslinger in the West, sometimes known as the Jewish cowboy, which is weird because I'm not actually Jewish.
Saddle up, because each episode we'll watch stories from 3 different Star Trek shows and rank them on a big list, from the best to the low-down worst. We both love Star Trek, and it's far from our first fandom making us the ultimate objective voices on such a task, or I'll stake my cowboy hat on such a claim.
Pachoo, pachoo, pachoo.
Yeah. Pew, pew.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I think we're too British for such nonsense.
We really are. Yeah. I can only apologize to America for what they've just heard. So, today, you may have picked up on our theme. We're going to look at the times that this wagon train to the stars went fully Wild West, which is, I was going to say, surprisingly more often than you think. 3 times that I'm aware of, but that's enough to make an episode of Casual Trek.
Yup.
So, before we go on, Miles, what non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying since we last spoke?
Ooh, okay, what non-Star Trek thing have I been enjoying? Well, I guess kind of keeping in the theme, I recently picked up a computer game called Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ooh.
Which is a Wild West themed game. The game has been a lot of fun. Admittedly, I haven't had much time to play any missions, so I've basically been going out and just hunting for my settlement, because that's a nice way to kind of, break off some time and not, accidentally accidentally stab someone in a hotel, which I did do.
In the game, not in your time working in a hotel in Brighton?
Yes, I've actually never stabbed anyone in a hotel.
Oh. That surprises me.
I have given someone a concussion at Starbucks, though.
Okay.
So, Charlie, you lone down, no good, dirty hornswoggler. What non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying, partner?
Well, these past few months, I've been running a role-playing game called Ghosts of El Paso, which is about the Vigilance Committee, a group who convenes for 6 months, once every 6 years, when the moon turns blood red like a wound in the sky. And the Vigilance Committee watch over El Paso as the dead rise. And they've got to try and investigate any supernatural goings on. There may be ghosts that they need to find a way to quieten and get rid of. There may be ghosts that they need to help seek justice. It really depends. And there are character classes such as a marshal who was a criminal until they fell in with the previous marshal, and when they died, now all this responsibility and law's up to them. Literal Death, who's inhabiting the body of one of the Vigilance Committee, and anyone she touches dies. So she's got to find out why she's been cursed into a mortal body. And The Kid, which is someone who really wants to be famous and really wants to be a legend, and has been given these 2 guns, damnation and salvation. And if he shoots people with damnation, they will die instantly and be dragged to hell. And if he shoots them with salvation, they'll die immediately and be pulled up into heaven. And that sounds cool for a legend in the making, but he can't ever turn down a challenge to a gunfight. And his mysterious benefactor, the Lady in Gold, seems to be pushing people his way, whether they want it or not. So it's a mystery game.
Okay.
There are about 10 or so pre-made mysteries, all building up through a season arc towards a big bad that you get bits of unlocked, kind of like a legacy board game. You
Okay.
unlock a special mystery if the kid ever says no to a duel, or if the marshal ever ticks one of their masks of the future, which sets a bounty hunter after them, and things like that. So it's got this beautiful structure to it. And each mystery is one where I don't know the solution. Instead, I give them the clues based
Okay.
on what they're doing and where they're doing it, and they piece together the solution themselves.
Ah.
I've got some slightly shyer players, but every single one has taken the lead on answering a mystery, and it's beautiful to see where you get that flash of inspiration of, aha! I know this is why the lady in white is doing this haunting. Or, yes, this is actually a guy who's pretending to be a ghost and stuff like that. So it's been really good fun. We're at about maybe 2/3 point of it now, and things are going to go a bit wild. Wilder than
Ooh,
you'd
okay.
normally get in a kind of haunted city where the blood moon happens every night for 6 months of the year.
Yeah. That does sound fun.
Yes.
Right, so Charlie, westerns.
Yeah.
Westerns.
Yeah. You got much time for a Western?
I admit, like, the few I've seen tend to be kind of like the Italian spaghetti westerns, like your Sergio Leone.
Yes.
I keep meaning to watch films like High Noon and like Rio Bravo and like The Searchers, but just it's never really been my genre. For like obvious reasons.
Yeah, I admit, I don't know if this is the same for other English kids or anything, but Westerns were always more of an abstract kind of.
It might just be like a generational thing.
Maybe.
Because we didn't grow up in the time. We grew up long after the time when westerns were like ubiquitous, not even just like your spaghetti westerns, like your big, like John Wayne, John Ford, all the Johns.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of knights and stuff like that. There was superheroes, of course, because just a little bit before I was born, I think was the first Superman film, and you could feel bits of that and the imports for Marvel UK kind of things. So westerns weren't really a thing. My friend from the comic shop, Goth John, much like with horror films, said, "Okay, here are some." And gave me like High Noon, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and so on. And they're fine. Like sometimes you get a really good western. You get some things like Deadwood, which is a beautiful horror show. It's got such eloquence in its obscenity and is so fascinating to watch. And not just because it's got Brad Dourif in it, but that definitely helped. But then, yeah, you get things like The Quick and the Dead, which is a favorite of mine, which is so Sam Raimi. It's so good and so very Sam Raimi in everything it does. But yeah, I guess for us, it's sci-fi westerns
It's
that
like
probably are.
it's definitely westerns which science fiction which draws on very much Western iconography, Western tropes. Like a lot of pulp sci-fi did tend to draw from that pulp Western genre, like areas. I mean, like if you look at Han Solo, he's basically like a northwest, like a gunfighter in space.
You were trying not to say a space cowboy, right?
I was actually trying not to say Northwest Smith, like the pulp kind of space cowboy created by C.L. Moore, who we touched on briefly in last week's episode.
Did indeed.
We did indeed.
And you get things like Firefly, which is the elephant in the room when you talk about the sci-fi westerns. And,
Yeah,
Joss Whedon, noted piece of shit.
I
I really enjoyed it when I first saw it, and I watched it too many times. I watched it on DVD because I didn't see it when it aired because I have no idea how it aired here. But I had it on DVD, watched it once through, watched it a second time, switching over to commentaries, watched it with my brother, and then we watched it with my dad and my stepmother, and that was all within a year of getting a DVD, and I've not looked at it since because of that overexposure of it.
I watched it the one time in very quick succession with a friend of mine before I went on holiday to the States for the first time. We watched Serenity.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to rewatch it, but the series soured on me quickly. And it was because the brown... when I say this, I'm a Whovian.
Mm-hmm.
Browncoats might be the most annoying fandom I've ever dealt with. And like I said, I am a Doctor Who fan who was a Doctor Who fan back when saying you like Doctor Who got you beaten up and teased in school.
Mm-hmm.
I realized a couple of years back that Firefly unintentionally deals in that the South will rise again kind of reconstructionist fantasy. And also, everyone likes to tell me how much the show is about bastards in space. And I have to go, no, fuck off. Watch Blake 7. Which is a show which generally has your heroes be bastards and criminals. And not just... It's like, with the exception of Jane, who is the closest character you have to being a bit of a bastard, who kind of is okay most of the time. Mal Reynolds is like Han Solo, in which he spends more of his time talking about how he's this tough, no-nonsense badass who won't ever stick his neck out for no one, but sticks his neck out for everyone, no matter what chance he gets.
Yeah, they're all just kind of adorable.
Yeah.
In that same way that you get with quite a few shows by Whedon in that respect, where you go kind of, I can see why people glom onto them. And there are a lot of issues like the whole confederacy of it all and the use or kind of non-use of China. Which, one day I'll revisit just to see how it's aged. As someone that really, really enjoyed it in a brief spell, and then kind of, even when I liked it, I was like, I've just seen it too much. I can't go back.
It does have one of my favorite lines in all of science fiction, which is the line, "The good book has a lot to say on the subject of murder. It says surprisingly little on the subject of kneecapping." Which is probably one of my favorite lines of dialogue, hands down. Other shows which have done Wild West episodes, which I've really liked, is The Prisoner. Quite famously did a Western episode, which apparently got banned in the US during broadcast, because this was during the Vietnam War, and stations were worried that having an episode of a TV show where a sheriff resigns his guns could be seen as an anti-Vietnam statement.
Yeah, God, it did a lot for a show with very few episodes.
Yeah.
But the set, I remember it being quite jarring, going, oh, okay, this is a Western now. Why? And it's for prisoners, so the answer's shut up.
Shut up is mind control. And I think that one actually is very similar in some ways to Spectre of the Gun that we're going to talk about later, when there's very much an inherent artificiality to what you're seeing.
Yes. Yeah. And then, of course, speaking of artificiality, there's Red Dwarf with the Gunman of the Apocalypse.
Oh, that's just a classic.
It is a stone-cold classic. And again, there are similarities to one of the episodes we'll be covering today. But it's later on than I always remember with Red Dwarf. Going back and revisiting it, I want to say early this year or late last year with Red Dwarf, I got up to all of the classic stuff, basically, and it still holds up as a great fun one, even though amongst my friends it has been memed to death since it aired.
There's nothing wrong with that. Other sci-fi shows, which of course there's Westworld, which again with artificiality is a Western-themed amusement park with robots.
Mm.
And it all goes, as we used to say in our NaNoWriMo group, how we describe most plots, it all goes horribly awry.
Yeah, in both the film and TV versions.
Yeah.
And the TV version, I liked a lot of, but also, had a lot of the issues of your mystery box kind of thing, and of uncertain future of the show and all of that, which, of course, happened as it was cancelled after
4 seasons for tax reasons, and then removed off HBO Max for tax reasons.
Yep, that's the
Yep.
one.
I've only seen the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I love its use of music.
Yeah.
I love that piano. I love there's like a plinkety plonkety it's a cover of Painted Black, which they used in the first episode. Then later on they use House of the Rising Sun.
There are some good bits in seasons 2 and 3, which is as far as I've gone.
Okay.
But I think you've seen its peak, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Conceptually. So yes. But yeah, all of these are sci-fi westerns that are not Star Trek. So let's crack on by talking about a little bit of Star Trek. And any of you vaguely familiar with Star Trek and hearing westerns probably know the first episode that we're going to cover tonight. And that is Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 8, titled A Fistful of Datas. It aired on the 7th of November 1992. Teleplay by Robert Hewitt Wolfe and Brannon Braga. Story by Robert Hewitt Wolfe. And directed by P. Stew himself. The UK and US #1 hit at this time was Boys II Men with End the Road, which I only vaguely remembered.
Yeah.
I listened to. I had on earlier today with Emma, and she was like, this feels really stalkery as a song. I don't know. It was one of those things, boy band wise, where I don't know. They just never.
I'm
really
surprised that Boys to Men with a band name like that haven't been taken over by the manosphere and incel culture. You can imagine that kind of being their band. Boys to Men.
I mean, they're not white, so
No, that's true. That's true. All right.
Anyway, on that note, I'll recap us as to what exactly A Fistful of Datas is about.
Okay. All right. And as always, you have 5 minutes. And for those 5 minutes, I need you to draw, partner.
So, the Enterprise is chilling by a planet called Deinonychus 7, so it's time for some downtime. Picard can't get a moment's peace to practice the flute. He's interrupted by the likely lads who want to test running the ship through data, just in case the computer goes awry. Bev appears, wanting to enlist him for her theatre troupe as an extra, so that's a no instantly. And Worf wants to do anything but hang out with his son Alexander. Request denied, Worf. Tough luck. Alexander's thrilled, mainly as he didn't see that previous scene or know how much his dad wanted to get out of this. So, he takes his dad to a holodeck program set in Deadwood in the ancient West. Worf's the sheriff and Alexander's his deputy. In engineering, the Forge takes his time to plug data into the ship. Sure, that'll go fine. Back on the holodeck, Worf's dubious about the program when he sees a saloon girl. Apparently Barclay helped with this, so he should be afraid of what else is on here. They're here to apprehend Eli Hollander, who's in the saloon. Worf knocks him out, bang, one punch, and Alexander's really upset with this. He increases the difficulty and restarts the scenario. This time, people clear out when Worf confronts Eli. There's a bar fight until Eli gets the drop on Worf, and then Eli's hat's shot off by Troi, who's here dressed as a mysterious stranger. Apparently, Alexander invited her, and she is really stoked to LARP the hell out of this. Over on the Enterprise, there's a fluctuation in Data's neural net. Best think nothing of it. Back in jail, Worf's still unsure what to do with Eli, who says his old man's going to come get him. Over on the ship, Picard is still trying to relax, and his music has taken over. At Crusher's rehearsal, Riker, who of course is getting involved in the Amdram stuff, his script gets turned to an ode to Spot. Back in the Western, Troy's demanded some money to help out Worf and Alexander, so Alexander's sent out to collect a bunch of money from the bank and gets kidnapped on his way back by Eli's evil dad, who's Data? Weird. And the program isn't freezing now, which is also slightly worrying. Worf goes to the saloon looking for Alexander, and evil dad Data shows up, and Worf keeps thinking this is actual Data until things escalate and he gets shot. He runs back to the sheriff's office, and Troy's unable to end the program, and apparently the safety's off. Evil dad Data wants his son back, and Eli, he also looks like Data now. Troi says, it's all right, we just need to play along. As soon as we hit the end of the scenario, it will force an end to the story. Holodeck will shut down. On the Enterprise, Data's brains apparently got into the library, the arts, the replicators, and so on. It's giving out cat food to anyone in the using the replicators. It's all gone a bit bad. Nothing essential, really, though, for a couple of hours, unless you are on the holodeck with the safety off and Data's somehow inhabiting the villains' bodies. Also, Data's speaking like a cowboy, which is annoying, but no one really examines why or whether there are wider problems with that. Troi watches the Eli Data shuffling cards and realizes, oh no, he's got all of Data's skills now. Evil dad Data shows up to see his son, and Worf agrees to trade son for son. Troi says he can't be trusted, and Worf, he is confused at that. What? That's dishonorable! Ancient West don't give no shits about honor. Tough luck, Worf. Worf and Troi get a plan, and the barmaid, who's besotted with Worf, helps out, giving him tools to make a personal force field from a comm badge. Worf does have to be reminded to thank her. It's time for the trade. Worf and Evil Dad Data both trade their boys, and as they cross, a third and fourth Evil Data pop up, hiding around with guns. There's a big gunfight. Oh no! Evil Dad Data hits the force field repeatedly until he runs out of bullets. Troi pulls on the others, and a Sombrero Data throws Evil Dad Data a gun, but it's too late. Worf shoots the gun away, looks over at Alexander and realizes, shouldn't kill him. I'm going to banish the Datas from town, because that's going to work. The program doesn't end yet, not until the barmaid, who also looks like Data, gives Worf an incredibly awkward hug, ending the program. And yeah, we close out with Worf doing finger guns at himself in a quick draw in the mirror, which we've all done.
7 seconds.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, Charlie.
Yo.
Alexander, Worf's son, writes a holodeck program where the father of the bad guy cares more about his son than Worf ever clearly does.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Well, he gave him a role as a deputy. He obviously respects his son, which is more than Worf does. And yeah, it's impressive to see. And Worf really, like, this is classic Worf, no-selling everything around him.
Yeah,
right
Worf,
until it all goes to hell.
Worf is very much clearly, like, if there was an RPG group, he would be the tank. He's the guy who's only there for the fighting.
Oh, and Worf gets to be the tough guy, gets to actually be good at fighting.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't get Worfed by anything. Like, sure, he gets shot by Evil Dad Data, but, you know, that's going to happen at that point. So even though he's a bit dense, he manages to get a good bit of fighting in. So that was nice. Also, it was good seeing Troi being the mysterious stranger role.
Troi clearly having fun.
Oh my god, yeah. Even when things are dangerous, she's like, no, fuck it, I'm staying in character, and I love that for her.
I love the part when Worf's this question, she's like, look, I really want to do this. Don't fucking ruin it for me. Oh, so your son, but mostly this is for me. This is Troy's. This is Troy's time.
Damn straight. Yeah, that was a fun little twist. Like, as odd as it seems that Betazoid might know about ancient westerns.
Well,
that, you know, she's
half human. Remember?
Yes.
Like, that's why she's not full on like Luxana Troi, because she has a human father.
Yeah, and that means, I guess, dabble into a bit of the heritage, which might go into the Wild West.
The
as
ancient West. The ancient
the
West.
ancient West. Yes, I do like that it is specifically that, just because it's even older than the Old West at that point. Yeah, it's interesting seeing this as a Patrick Stewart directed episode as well. And it feels like all of the stuff with him just trying to chill out for a bit is having some fun with that.
Yeah.
Apparently, he wanted to do this, but also didn't really know about westerns, so he ended up renting a couple of them a night for a little bit until he could get the hang of them. Which feels so nice and human, like that kind of, oh my god, right, I've desperately got to do my homework.
Like, I don't know if he like would have gotten like an assistant, like a PA to get them, or like, I'm just amused by the idea of Patrick Stewart just kind of walking in to like a blockbuster video in Hollywood and just like, I must rent some westerns.
Oh, that'd be so good.
I like seeing more of the ship in downtime.
Yes.
I like the idea that just like that there's just Amdram going on all the spare time. Like the amount of plays the Enterprise crew just one act plays the Enterprise crew just seems to be putting on in their spare time is amazing.
Well, and I get it's a conceit for show that it's not the same one every time. It'd be interesting if you had that kind of like slight nod to continuity that they're gradually working their way through an Amtram Tempest.
So again, this is going back to all the people in Starfleet are clearly nerds.
Yes,
who are all writing like just doing their like one act play in their spare time. Like, yep. You know, I am a science officer in my main job, but I just really want to dance.
Well, yeah, because just because you're good at science or engineering or anything doesn't mean that you've not got some of that in you. You know, I love whenever I find out a colleague has something artful they do. You know, last weekend I bumped into my colleague Xin Chu, who was exhibiting at an open house, and he paints, and getting to see his studio and his artwork and all of that. And it's always a nice thing when you scratch the surface of a colleague and go, oh, there's art there. And yeah, for something like this, where you've got some downtime while waiting for a supply ship to show up, have at it. We're not a 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Well, given how much like just free time they must, because we just only ever see the exciting bits. So there must be just huge days when they're just traveling and nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And
find fulfilling ways to do it. Like how many workshops on things? You know, get Keiko O'Brien doing a talk on botany or something.
Oh god, you know that Data has tried to form so many improv troupes and it's failed every time because the only 3 people who will join to join Data will be Geordi LaForge, Wesley Crusher, and Riker.
Oh god,
because Riker's down. You know Riker is down to improv.
Oh, damn straight. I was going to ask, do you think in joining the theatre troupe, he's there to pull or to get people to show up for his jazz recitals?
Oh, definitely jazz recitals. He's definitely investing in some markers there.
Yeah, if I did this for you guys, obviously you're going to come to my jazz recital in 10 Forward, right?
Right.
All right.
Right.
And if it's bad, it's not me, it's Thomas Riker. So yeah, it's fairly light, fun kind of thing. It felt a little similar to the Gunman of the Apocalypse in that kind of VR situation where it's all gone a bit awry.
Yeah. It doesn't help that like the Old West, the ancient West town seems perpetually desolate.
Yes.
Like, and I don't really just every time I saw it, I'm like, this just makes it look cheap. Because it's clearly like, yep, we can only afford to have like a few extras, and we by the end it's just we can only afford to have Michael Dorn, the poor kid playing Alexander, Miranda Curtis, and Brent Spiner in all the outrageous costumes. We can't afford just a couple of extras to just walk up and down and make this place look alive.
there is a cheapness to it all, especially in the kind of the final bit, the final leg of it, where it feels like they are definitely on a set. Now, that will only increase with the one we're covering next. But yeah, it's, I don't know, maybe part of that is just, okay, Alexander wouldn't have thought to
Yeah.
put extras in it as a kind of no prize sort of thing. But yeah, it's I don't know, like for a Western, it's fine. It's obviously a Western that is designed by a child. Things like exiling the guys away.
Yeah.
You know, like if not for the safety settings being taken off, it would have been a cakewalk.
You see,
But
honestly, given how many times the safety settings break on a holodeck in Star Trek, I would never go in that thing. I would just be writing. I'd be writing plays all the goddamn time. It's like, hey, Mars, you want to go on a holodeck? Nope. Thing's probably haunted. I am writing a one-act play.
yeah, I mean, maybe that's for Division. You know, you've got your people that are terrified of it that are just going to go no. Like I will paint a prop castle to do this play against. I don't need a hologram version that's lifelike
No,
or anything like that.
it's like you know how like McCoy is afraid of using the transporter.
Mm-hmm.
I would be afraid of using the holodeck for two reasons. One, every time you go in that thing, it seems to break and make something that tries to kill you. Or two, I will never be able to not. I always have the suspicion that everyone thinks I'm using the holodeck for sex.
I mean, that's got to be one of the like top reasons why the
Yeah.
holodeck gets used. I mean, apparently, with this episode being a holodeck malfunction, they were like, "Well, it's been a few years since our last holodeck malfunction, so let's have ourselves one as a treat."
I can imagine like the Enterprise has signed one of those kind of this many days since last holodeck accident.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's safer than the holodeck? Writing a play. Do you know what's also safer than the holodeck?
Oh yeah.
Assigning an episode of Star Trek to the big Star Trek list.
Why, yes, Miles. Such a list as the one we have here, where we currently have 81 episodes and films of Star Trek, going all the way from Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan at the top spot. Then we've got around halfway, we have The Stars at Night from Lower Decks, where Shax has his second best day. And finally, down at the bottom, we have Strange New Worlds' Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach, where we can't really be bothered solving this problem. But yes, so Fistful of Datas, it was fine. You know, it was nice seeing the next gen folks on their day off. The Western bit of it's fairly basic, but you know, it's not fun.
Yeah.
You know, let's see. Our halfwayest episode, I guess, here is Data Law, TNG wise.
Let's see. I don't know. Like, it's.
I'd put it probably under Data Law because it's more frivolous, and that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
you can have a bit of a trifle. It's still, yeah. I don't know. People have fun, but it's not.
See, I'm looking at the game, which is at number 52, which is, of course, the Enterprise gets hooked on Candy Crush.
Yes.
Except for Wesley Crusher, who was just like, Candy Crush, I've got Baldur's Gate 3 to look at, mate.
Of course he does.
Honestly, I think the game is more fun than the Fistful of Datas, if only because it's such a dumb premise, it almost becomes high art.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Again, like, there are people that know the image of the game despite not even seeing the episode. You know, if people saw some of the shakiness of this, they would probably immediately have their minds cast back to the Gunman of the Apocalypse from Red Dwarf.
Like, all my kind of quibbles are really much production, which is the Western stuff looks cheap because there's no people. And even in Red Dwarf, they had a bunch of actors, like in the saloon, just kind of in the town itself.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm finding myself drifting down list-wise. I was seeing Cat's Paw, which was a very silly trifle, but
Which was once number 13 and now number 59.
it is, yes, with Kitten Kong and with a haunted castle in space. So that's great fun.
Then, of course, number 60, there is your namesake, Charlie X,
Yeah,
who was a little creep.
he really was.
Is this better or worse than Charlie X?
Oh, like as a show, as an episode, it's probably better. Like again, Charlie X, I guess it's that thing of how iconic is Charlie X as a thing.
Yeah.
Like probably not much.
No,
No.
definitely. It's 60th the most iconic episode of Star Trek we've seen on this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably better than Charlie X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, better or worse than Cat's Paw?
I mean, like they get chained up in a basement with a really fake-looking skeleton in Cat's Paw.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
There's the dry ice and that brilliant the perspective shots of a cat, just a regular cat that's supposed to be a giant cat.
Okay, all right, you've convinced me.
These are very exacting reasons, You can tell that we are the most Star Trek here when we use a regular cat being played off as a giant cat as a reason for why an episode is good.
You know what's going to happen one day?
Mm.
Charlie X will be the 69th episode on our list.
Oh, he'd love that, wouldn't he?
Nice.
Oh, no.
All right. So Excellent. There we go. We have a brand new bouncing number 60, a bouncing Fistful of Datas.
We do. For our second episode of the evening, we're going back in time. We're going to Star Trek, the original series, with Season 3, Episode 1, titled Spectre of the Gun. This aired on the 25th of October, 1968. It was written by Lee Cronin, aka Gene L. Coon, working under a pseudonym, and directed by Vincent McAveety. The UK number one was Mary Hopkin with Those Were the Days, and the US number one was Elvis Presley with Don't Be Cruel / Hound Dog. There is a clear winner of which one is the better track here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those Were the Days.
Were they, though?
Well, no, but they never are.
No, I don't know. I just found it a bit meandering, and I don't know. The video I saw had an extreme close-up of her face for all of it as well, which seemed a bit odd. But yeah, I'm not a massive Elvis fan, but yeah, these are classic tunes.
All right. It's my turn, isn't it?
It is. It is your turn. So, put together the shakiest set you can find. And, saddle up, as it's time to recap. Gun noise! Gun noise!
Gun noise! Gun noise! Actually, that kind of works with the cheapness of the show, of this episode. Right. Am I on?
Yes.
Well, shiza. Okay. The Enterprise is making contact with a reclusive species called the Makoshians. They find a spinny probe which tells them to stay away in each of the characters' respective languages. Spock surmises that this race might be telepathic, which always means bad news. Kirk is like, sure, let's go down. Why not? We got a job to do. And Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Chekhov, Sulu's on break. Don't know where Sulu is. They all beam down to the planet, and they beam down into a misty wilderness, so probably Hull. And they meet an emissary of the Makoshians, who is a giant freaking brain, like the brain from Planet Arros, and he goes, hey, you are trespassing. Now you die. and you will die in the nature of your primitive species. And suddenly, zoom in, zoom out, cameraman, and they're in a Wild West town. If it was painted by Salvador Dali, like it's just like flat cardboard sets and a red sky. Oh, Christ! As if an Earth must be going on in the background. They get seen by the sheriff, who calls them all Ike Clanton, Billy Clanton, Tom McCleary, Frank McCleary, and Billy Claiborne, and get antagonized by Virgil Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. It turns out, oh no, they're in actual history. They're at the gunfight at the OK Corral, which would make a really decent title for a film. And they had it turns out that Kirk and co, they're the ones who are going to die in this gunfight, except for Billy Claiborne, who is being played by Chekhov. Stick a pin in that. They go to the saloon, and Chekhov immediately starts macking on the one woman there. When Spock and Kirk are like, dude, can you stop? Chekhov's like, no, this is what I'm made for. This is my purpose. They try and escape the city because they think, hey, if we're not here for the gunfight, then the gunfight can't happen. So they try and leave the stage they're on, and there's a force field. Oh no, it's one of those. Oh no, they're being railroaded back to the plot. Spock goes, hang on, we can make gas bombs and we can knock them out. Let's work on that. So they start fetch questing to get the ingredients for the smoke grenade. Chekhov runs into Virgil Earp and is shot down dead. Chekhov's dead.
Oh no!
Oh no! This will definitely have far-reaching dramatic repercussions for the rest of Star Trek. Anyway, Chekhov's dead. Kirk is really pissed off about that, but they don't want to antagonize because they realize that whatever's going on, they will die. Spock, who for some reason has this is like apparently his favorite period in history because he knows so much about Westerns. Perhaps Amanda, his mum, read in Western stories when he was a baby Vulcan. Or maybe Michael Burnham, his secret sister who we don't talk about because we very rarely cover Discover in the show, told them about really liked Westerns. But it turns out in the actual history, Billy Claiborne, played by Chekhov, was actually the one survivor, so history can be changed. Kirk and Spock and everyone, as the gunfight gets closer, they realize, wait a second, what if all this is an illusion? What if the bullets aren't real? What if the gunfighters aren't real? And McCoy goes, damn it, Spock, if I get shot, I'm gonna know I get shot. And Spock goes, what if we did the Vulcan mind meld? And so while the bad guys are walking to kill our heroes, Spock mind melds of each of them. So and then the Earps and Doc Holliday turn up and just pull out guns and just start like going all out like the John Woo film into our heroes, and nothing happens. And they pull out more guns and just keep on loading and then pull out a third set of guns, which is funny because Doc Holliday has a shotgun. So he's got more shotguns in there than I do in most games of Fallout. But no. Was that the timer?
No, not yet.
Oh. So yeah, the guns don't work. Kirk immediately leaps into his patented...
That's the timer.
No, that's the timer.
That's the timer. Thumbs up, partner.
All right. I will respond with my patented 2-foot Kirk kick. Hoo-yah!
Oh, no. And continue.
Kirk responds with his patented 2-footed Kirk kick. Hoo-yah! He beats Virgil up to the ground, pulls out his gun, and he's about to shoot him, but decides not to. And then, zoom in, zoom out, cameraman! And it was all a dream.
Oh my god.
They're back on the Enterprise. Chekhov's alive. I guess he was just dead for a while. It turns out it was all an illusion. None of it was real. And the Makoshians call up to the ship and go, hey, so you passed the test. Didn't expect that to happen. So hey, you know that whole peaceful contact thing? Can we not talk about how we tried to kill you? Okay, come on down. First impressions, after all, don't count.
54 seconds over. And Miles, have you ever crafted a weird, unconvincing papier-mâché head?
No.
Ah.
I've considered it.
I was part of a youth puppet theatre group when I was about 13 or so. So I've crafted quite a few.
Okay.
This one was impressive.
That was an impressive, freaky, like skull brain thing. It kind of reminded me of. Have you ever seen Doomlord from the 80s incarnation of the Eagle?
No.
He kind of looks like Doomlord,
Okay.
which but yeah, I remember this when I was a kid. Like, I think I saw this when it was on in the 90s because I remember like the gunfight at the end. I remember like them doing the mind meld and coming back to like the bad guys walking slowly to the OK Corral, cut back to our heroes with the mind meld, and then they pull out all the guns, start firing like it's Quentin Tarantino, and nothing happens. And that image has just been kind of stuck in my head since the early 90s.
Wow, that kind of, we're going to hypnotize you into believing the bullets aren't real because, it is all an illusion, which
Yes.
Chekhov, I don't know whether he'd feel embarrassed about his behavior there or whether he'd just shrug it off because, this is Starfleet. People have made out with worse for no
Yeah,
reason.
people have died and come back several times in the world of Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah, he like at least he felt like he was trying to get into the LARP of it compared to like Kirk initially was like the few times he tried to act talking to people, he was extremely dry in his delivery. I know I think this is one of the first third season episodes that I've seen, and you can already see that he's beginning to get a bit sweatier as a person. I don't know if it's just the set or if it's Shatner gradually evolving to his final form. But
I did love the set.
Yeah, I mean,
like it looked like it's cheap.
Yeah,
it's very clearly cheap, but this is definitely, unlike a Fistful of Datas, it's a cheapness that helps serve to make it just feel stranger.
Yeah, it's got that final episodes of The Prisoner kind of falseness to it, which makes some of their actions and reactions to it seem weird, a little jarring in going, let's play that it's convincing, not this is obviously an illusion.
They never bring it up. It's just kind of no.
Yeah, and I gather it was a money thing that they couldn't afford an outdoor set at this point. So, yeah, they just did their best with what they could. So, scripting probably reflects that it would have been a more convincing set normally. I guess in a way, it'd feel, I don't know, it probably feels a little better with them not referring to it as a fake set so much, I mean, like set wise, you've got this, and then the only way that you could go lower with it would be if it was like Dogville, chalk outlines of the buildings at that point.
See, I think you and we're just of that generation where everything is just kind of meta, and that characters in TV shows seem to be aware that they're in a TV show and just comment on the cheapness and the artificiality of their environment surrounding them. So,
well,
you have to wonder if it's like you generally don't very much have that kind of fourth wall breaking in a serious drama. You have that kind of fourth wall breaking like in comedies, and like the kind of stand like sitcoms at the time.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and seeing the physical sets and physical props in a lot of the earlier tracks, it has been interesting realizing as time's gone on, as technology's gone on, I'm fine with it. Like I didn't see most of the original series when I was a kid. Most of this I'm coming to for the first time, but just going, yeah, this is obviously a soundstage, but guess what? I know this isn't a portal into the distant future. Like
Yeah.
my immersion isn't going to be from that. My immersion is going to be from the performances and how well they sell it.
I will say the guy who plays like the main villainous gunslinger, who plays, I think, Wyatt Earp, that guy is proper creepy.
Oh my god, so ominous.
He stalks around the stage like he's a phantom. Like he is
Yes.
literally a specter. He has that like long kind of El Desperado mustache, which just kind of droops. He just looks very intense, and
Well-
also he's so gaunt.
The reactions to him as well. That kind of, okay, Kirk, not only sit down in this saloon, but sit down with your hands away from your gun because he will take any excuse to
Yeah.
fill you full of lead. Like it was well done. That kind of, yeah, this is an ominous gaunt murder machine that's here. That was good fun to see. Yeah, it was interesting having done some Wild West role playing between Ghost of El Paso and last year with Deadlands. It feeling like different levels of selling being in a Western or not from them, with Chekhov getting way too interested in getting off with one of the NPCs. And yeah, that kind of, I've got an extremely pronounced plan with the gas, which felt like it took up for something that was quite easily, oh yeah, well, it's not going to let us do this. It felt like it was a lot of effort for that. Results that were there.
I kind of like I liked it's nice to see when Scotty gets to go down on the planet and do stuff. Because usually Scotty's usually up on the ship, like either he's in engineering going, the engines they cannot take no more, or he's commanding the ship, while Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are basically like punching an empire to death.
Yeah, although his hair looked odd.
His hair looks weird. He has a kind of he's got this weird like backwards comb job.
Yeah, I think he'd been told to kind of style it like that, and he just looks shocked a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And not just because he does a lot of drinking.
He does a lot of drinking.
Oh my god, a very so much. And yeah, it's like, well, yeah, can't fault him on that. Yeah, and Bones talking to Kirk about, may want to drink some of this whiskey for your injuries and that, and trying to make it sound like he doesn't do that all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm actually looking up. I'm looking at the film Gunfight at the OK Corral from 1957, which has DeForest Kelley playing Morgan Earp.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because, I know the names of like Doc Holliday, and Earps because they're in Doctor Who. So it was kind of weird, especially given how Hollywood morality worked at the time, that they have our heroes be playing the role of the outlaws in the story.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure how much the Hays Code... You know about the Hays Code, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, for some of our listeners who don't know, the Hays Code was a series of morality guidelines for Hollywood films from, like, the 30s through to the 60s, and one of those kind of codes for filmmaking, like they're very strict censorship, which was the good guys are good guys, the villains are villains, and the villains must always be seen getting their comeuppance. And so when people talk about all this woke moralizing in cinema today, just remember, it's a lot worse. Shut up. But no, that's kind of found it weird because you'd think, like, in this kind of scenario, you would have our heroes be like Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, and like they would be the marshals, having to corral this gang.
I get
Whereas
the weird, like, telepathic thing, which, the kind of telepathic probe looked very Rainbow Road kind of style. That it went, you're the villains who are going to die in this. Now let's see what you do.
Especially since you essentially have police brutality from the URPs just trying to antagonize these guys into a gunfight. And again, in that seems very revolutionary for 1960s and for 1960s television.
Definitely.
Where you have a show which is going, the lawmakers are being portrayed as the bad guys here, and our heroes need to find a peaceful solution to survive.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out whether or not they got in any kind of in any fights or any issues, or had to go, no, these are psychic projections. They're not really.
Charlie, let's be honest, this is Star Trek in its first broadcast.
Yeah.
In its final season, no one was giving a shit.
True. Oh, dear. So, with all that, where do we put the Spectre of the gun?
Oh, I don't know. This is a tough one because, I enjoyed it, but it's not with the exception of that one strong image which I've carried with my my life. I don't know if I'm ever gonna go, hey, you know what? It's gonna be a good time for Star Trek. That's the real one when they can't afford walls or backdrops.
Yeah.
And we get to see Chekhov's makeout face far too much.
Oh my.
Yes. It's like, hey, did I ever want to see Bessa from Babylon 5 just mac lips with someone? No.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, at least was it Shatner this time?
Yes. Yeah, that felt quite good. The kind of alien psychic projection love interest was Chekhov's deal rather than Kirk, who was busy no-selling a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at 56, we've got What Are Little Girls Made Of, which had some... It was a fun little away team thing, but had some wonderful caves and a weird, kind of cloning machine. Well, cloning robot machine, which... Yeah, I don't know. That's probably better than this.
Okay, all right. I'm looking at
like a dildo.
Yeah, I'm looking at 68, which is Justice, where Wesley ruins a visit to planet Fuck. Which Chekhov is clearly trying to, Chekhov is trying to get his planet Fuck on.
Oh, God.
In this episode.
So, and at that point, we're beneath Fistful of Datas for this, which, probably fine. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's that problem of Justice is one I would revisit, despite it not being necessarily good.
Yeah, I would watch it for the running, just so I can go, there we go, had my workout.
Hey, yeah. Okay. And, watch Wesley nearly get executed.
It's like, see, look, this episode's not that bad. They're all clearly doing a nice little lovely bit of cardio.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is this better or worse? Oh man, is this better or worse than Home, the Enterprise episode where everyone is racist now?
God, I think this is better than Home. Home's obviously got the better effects. It's allowed to go to an external set when Archer goes rock climbing. But also, it's Home feels like it's dealing with the aftermath of its War on Terror season in any case. And unfortunately, quite a bit of that feels fairly off-putting. The stuff on Vulcan's good, but frankly, it's fractionally better than the sets that we get here. And this at least has, the abstractness of being on their Planet Hell kind of soundstage and the frontage of several different Wild West buildings.
See, I'm thinking that if Wes Anderson made a Star Trek film, it would be a remake of Spectre of the Gun.
I would like to see that, actually.
So would I actually.
Wow. I think I probably prefer this to Home. It's got
Yeah.
some charm where Home is... I'd say it's at 50% charm, the trip
Home
stuff.
is trying to be like a serious drama, whereas this is we're doing a western. Sure. Do we have enough money to do a western? No. Sure. We can work with this.
Why not? Okay, so that would put this at the new 69 on the list. Good.
Very good.
So,
Almost nice.
almost.
Okay. And that's why we'll never talk about the Legion of Superheroes on the show again.
Oh. I understand. Okay, well, sadly, we can't talk about the Legion of Superheroes. So instead, I'm going to talk about our third episode of the night, which is Enterprise, Season 3, Episode 9, titled North Star. This aired on the 12th of November 2003. It was written by David A. Goodman and directed by David Strayton. The UK number one hit was Fat Man Scoop with Be Faithful, and the US one was Beyonce featuring Sean Paul with Baby Boy. I didn't remember who Fat Man Scoop was until I started seeing the video, and I don't care for it. It's not great.
We may have found a song that made me go, that Ed Sheeran's okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, like Beyonce wasn't great. She's not hit peak Beyonce yet in this, and Sean Paul for some reason just seemed to be everywhere at the time. So yeah, which doesn't help. One thing before I get into recap, Miles, what the fuck with the theme tune?
I don't like it.
No, I didn't care for it before, but apparently their attempt to fix it has made it even worse by making it terribly jaunty.
And this is the post 9/11 season as well.
Yeah.
This is we're going to be morally conflicted now because Space 9/11 happened.
Madness.
I miss the original theme tune.
I would never have expected to say it, but yes, I miss the original theme tune compared to what we hear here. Terrible. Anyway, on that note,
this is not a Star Trek theme tune discussion podcast.
So we might need to do one of those at some point. Maybe a ranking of the theme tunes.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie, quick question. How obsessive compulsive are you?
I mean, not medically so, but I've got spreadsheets for a lot of things in my life.
All right. Okay. Speaking of tallies to your spreadsheets, we're going to see how far you go over your 5 minutes this time.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, partner.
It's time to follow that North Star.
It's time to follow that North Star. Like Don Quixote. And lean.
Oh. So, we're in a Wild West town as some kind of lynch mob's running down a guy. Is this the right show? Opening credits seem to say so, even though, my God, those opening credits, somehow they made it worse. Anyway, we're still in the Wild West, and Sheriff McCready is talking to a woman called Bethany, giving his regrets about the dead guy. Not that he'd have stopped it, but he'd have had a court determine that they should lynch someone called a skag. And who's this mysterious cowboy watching everything going on? It's Captain Archer. He's here and dressed in period-appropriate attire, as are T'Pol and Trip. T'Pol says these are humans. These are definitely actual humans. There's about 6,000 of them clustered together in small communities, and their oldest structure is only 250 years old. Trip and T'Pol ask around about getting a replacement horse so they can ride out and check out some of the things further afield. They're met with a bit of suspicion, but Trip trades away a harmonica and a loan of his gun to borrow a horse, and is told, better be careful about those skags out there. Archer hangs out in a saloon chatting with a bartender who's apparently a direct descendant of Cooper Smith, the man who overthrew the Skags. His waiter is a Skag, though, and gets bullied by the lynch mob from last night, one of whom is the town's deputy, Deputy Bennings. Tensions rise until the sheriff pops up to stop things, for now. Archer heads off to the school and talks to Bethany about the Skagarans. She wants to know why he helped out at the saloon, and he says he believes humans and skags are equals. He wants to know about their ways, and she shows him an out-of-town school, as teaching a skag is an illegal act here. Trip and T'Pol are sneaking around there and get found by Archer, and they report they've found some old files that need decoding, so they're sent away. Archer, on the other hand, finds out from the local kids that the Skagaran ancestors apparently abducted humans as cheap labour, and that humans, as they're wont to do, rebelled against them. Bennings pops up, having followed Archer, and everyone scatters, but Bennings arrests Bethany and Archer. And in jail, Bethany gives a bit more of a history lesson, saying, yes, humans were slaves, but the history lessons don't really go into the fact that Cooper Smith was a butcher, murdering innocent and guilty skag alike. Archer meets up with the sheriff, and we hear booze is illegal around these parts. No wonder they're angry all the time. The sheriff doesn't want the Skagarans learning about their past for fear that they'll replicate it at some point, and he just wants Archer out of town. He will be sentencing Bethany to at least 10 years in prison because she is Skagaran after all, or quarter Skagaran. In jail, Archer decks Bennings and releases Bethany. They try to escape, and Bennings shoots Bethany in a slow-mo kind of escape sequence thing. Archer decides to beam away with her in front of everyone. Up on the Enterprise, it's easy enough to remove the bullet. And back down at North Star, Bennings says that Archer must be collaborating with Skagarans, hence the weird technology. This is a great excuse to murder everyone. And the sheriff's not up for this, so Bennings quits to make all the genociding easier. Archer decides, right, time to reveal the truth for locals. And after they deal with the Zindi, they'll come back and deal with the repercussions for revealing the truth for locals. They land a shuttle in the middle of the street, shocking everyone, especially an unfortunate horse. Archer, T'Pol, Reed, and a couple of weird army-looking folks pop out. Archer has words for the sheriff, who is receptive to the details, luckily. And Archer mentions that Earth's moved past intolerance, so maybe cool it with that for a while. The sheriff announces to the public he won't harm anyone, and is immediately shot by Bennings. There's a standoff until Reed shoots a gunman out of a window. Time for a gunfight! Archer shoots the floor out from under a guy. Someone else holds T'Pol hostage, so Reed stuns her and then the guy holding her hostage. Archer and Bennings have a fight for a stable, which even goes underneath a horse at one point until Archer gets the drop on him. With all that done, Archer introduces Bethany to space. She says, she must think of her people as barbaric, and yes, he does. It'll be a while before ships come back for the humans, and MacReady's already changing laws. So we end with Bethany having been given a pad teaching Earth history to kids, and also to MacReady, who could probably do with some teaching as well. And that's it.
Oh, you did it.
Oh my god.
You did it in 5 minutes.
Yes. Whoa. Yeah,
Charlie,
yeah.
was this another good episode of Enterprise?
I think it was. There were a couple of times early on where I thought I wasn't sure whether they were doing something jarringly stylistic or if it was just a brief camera moment where it felt weirdly washed out.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. This was a year before Deadwood, so at first I kind of thought this was like a Deadwood thing, but no, they're just really trying to actually doing with tricks with the
camera,
with the camera to really sell that this is an alien planet.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that they really wanted to make sure this wasn't treated the same way that Fistful of Datas was.
No.
Basically being the unforgiven style of Western. So that suits that kind of paler.
We're definitely in that kind of like, you can kind of compare like the very everyone's wearing clean suits in Spectre of the Gun to your very kind of 1950s, 60s Westerns. So like your early 2000s, where I think most Westerns that we were getting were very much the revisionist Westerns.
Yeah.
Which are Westerns going, yeah, all these kind of great heroes that we idolized of this era were thieves and murderers, just killing the people and taking their land.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing no easy analog here.
No.
Because the people that are currently oppressed were the people that were keeping slaves. And it's not trying to be a one-for-one version of anything in Earth history so much. You've got these abducted humans that rose up and rebelled, and now they've become this very kind of tight-knit, very hateful little group, or at least mostly hateful group, against the people that were kind of ancestry with the Skagarans. Because I don't know if we necessarily even see a kind of full Skagaran so much as people that are part human and part them, because you get like weird crusty bits on some of them in different spots. So I'm assuming all of the ones we've seen now are hybrids as well, which also complicates matters.
I'm surprised that they made a big deal. Like Phlox made a big deal of Bethany being quarter Skagaran, and I thought that was going to come up to like a plot point, like look, what?
Same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Although I just want to say, the more you were saying the word skag in your recap, the more and more skag just became like, it's clearly no one thought, man, what if the British just say the word skag all the time and just kind of sounds stupid? Because all I can imagine was just like this Grant Mitchell type with like an EastEnders accent going, "Shut it, you skag."
Well, yeah, or a drugs reference there,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the difficult thing is in doing a recap, trying to keep it to a tight 5. Skagaran sounds terrible.
Yeah.
As a species name. So yeah, calling them skags, while it is possibly an insult, shortening it to that, it's easier to say than Skagaran.
Mm. Oh, definitely.
I think I spelt both several different ways in my script as well. Yeah, it's definitely interesting seeing, as you say, with differences from Spectre of the Gun, where it is just cowboy v cowboy. Was this any reason? Well, one's law, one's not. That's it. Let's not look into this. And where you've got, even in Fistful of Datas, kind of, yeah, you get these bandits coming into town, doing some murders, and law trying to keep that going anywhere, to here where no one's good. Really.
No one's good. Like the people who are upholding the law are the ones who are doing the lynching and the killing and turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah, well, as much as MacReady is trying to be reasonable, he's let this shit go on.
Yeah.
And without any of this going, like any changes happening, he would have just been complicit in it. Oh, and he's Aaron from 24 as well, which the kind of security guard that was just always there in the background somewhere.
Gotcha. With you're saying with MacReady just turning a blind eye, it's almost as if a good police officer who just stands by and lets corruption happen is just as complicit as the corrupt police officers themselves.
Yes, I would say it is exactly like that. And interesting when you see that depicted in the popular culture in an era where you wouldn't have expected it.
Especially like when we're immediately we are post 9/11, we're in that very much 24 style torture is cool because it gives us the answers we want. That kind of, we can do whatever we want. We're America.
Well, yeah, it's where this is my first time seeing the Makos, the kind of military force.
Yeah.
And that felt jarring as well. Going, oh, you got some army men running around in camo, like in Starfleet camo with guns, which I don't know if they just straight up murdered some people. I don't know.
No, I don't know. Like, we don't specify. I'm assuming. I hope they're all set to stun.
Hopefully.
I love the part where Merryweather, not Merryweather, God, Reed, the British guy, does the one thing I'm surprised no one has ever. I don't know if anyone's ever done it in Star Trek yet, which is you have a guy at gunpoint and he's like, "I'm just going to stun." I'm going to stun the hostage. Then while you're looking shocked, I'm just going to shoot you.
I loved his little apologetic look there. That was a beautiful moment. Just like, yeah, sorry.
Okay, do you know what I didn't expect? Archer's arm to basically explode when he gets shot.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, that looked a lot worse.
That looked like that's getting edited out on Channel 4.
Yeah. Yes, that was rough. But yeah, like seeing Archer kind of infiltrating a saloon and asking kind of half confused questions to try and figure out the spaces in did give me some Quantum Leap flashbacks.
Oh yeah, like this. I think this is the nicest we've seen Archer in all our rewatching, because at no point is he being a dick to Vulcans. At no point is he being like more conflicted by his moral uncertainty, like in Home. He's basically coming into town and sorting out a racism.
Yeah,
like in Quantum Leap.
Yes, yeah, he's doing a good job with this. It was weird seeing Bethany, who was I recognized her and looked her up. And it's like, oh god, yes, she was a recurring character in Gilmore Girls, who was a real piece of shit, and was probably around the same time that this aired as well. Which was jarring to go. Oh yeah, she was playing a kid who was just an arsehole in a teen drama, compared to this, where she's a teacher and trying to do secret lessons to the skag kids about about their history, and not in a and we should replicate this kind of way, despite Macready's fears.
It's like we need to learn properly about the past so we can avoid it.
Yeah, it's almost like that kind of thing's good to do if you've got any problematic elements in your history or any colonial problems or anything.
It's almost as if you had to talk about the bad. Like it's almost as if if there are bad parts in your cultural heritage, you have to kind of talk about them and own them, and
not just put your fingers in your ears and make noise.
Yeah, and just go. We can't have been bad. We fought the Second World War. Man, oh god, someone we could plan at this episode was woke.
That's good. Well, fuck that person.
Yeah. This is very. I feel very rarely does Star Trek ever kind of go ACAB, but I feel it kind of goes ACAB.
It did, yeah, and good for it.
Yeah,
and I think you're shockingly right. This was a good Enterprise.
Like this, I've not seen. I think I've not seen much of like the Xindi arc.
No,
I tried when it was on on Netflix. I think I tried starting from season 3 onwards and then kind of just dropped off. So yeah, I hope more of what we get is like this, but I get the feeling it might not be. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yes. Yeah, so looking at our list at the moment, number 36 is our highest rated Enterprise episode with Carbon Creek.
Wow. And that was also a very good episode.
It was. It's interesting seeing these good episodes have been ones that have taken them out of their normal zone.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we'll see some which are, again, just like the way Fistful of Datas was. Oh, we've got some downtime, we're farting around the ship. But in a good way with Enterprise one day, hopefully.
Okay, so is this better or worse than Carbon Creek?
Oh, I mean, both kind of do some similar things. There's definitely some strangely comparable elements. I think this one's definitely more action-packed.
Yeah.
The intolerance is a lot more kind of baked into Cold War paranoia. And, I think this one might win out slightly because you've got more than just T'Pol as a character.
Yeah. Although T'Pol doesn't really do much.
Yeah, she and Trip are just kind of there. So I guess it's a lot more of an Archer showcase.
Yeah. Which, hey, nothing wrong with that. Scott
No.
Bakula is like one of the more charming actors.
Definitely. And he does a great job here, trying to blend in with the Wild West people, ingratiating himself to the Skigarans. And yeah, the gunfight is, I think, the most fun gunfight out of all of them. That we've seen tonight.
Generally, a lot of Star Trek kind of fights just kind of feel like, you ever played Time Crisis?
No.
You ever played one of those arcade shooters where, you have to duck and cut, you have to duck, cover.
Yeah,
I think like
House of the Dead, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like a lot of Star Trek fights, especially in this kind of era, always just feel like, okay, you stand over there, you shoot at each other, and then duck every so often. So it's really nice to kind of see a battle where there are levels, there are elements of play. You've got the people up top. You got Archer shooting out the floor from under them with his phaser, which was a nice little bit.
That was cool.
Archer's arm just almost exploding. He's not walking down. That Phlox is good. That's you know how good Phlox is.
Yeah. God, I think just for the fun factor, this might be a bit better than Carbon Creek.
Yep. All right. Okay. Are we gonna get a? Let's see. Are we gonna get an Enterprise episode in the top 30?
Well, our 30 there is Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad, which in Discovery, which is a real fun one.
Yeah,
God, this isn't a list with a lot of bad in it. You've got to get right down to the bottom for the real bad ones. But I don't know. I think we've got two Discoveries next to each other in 30 and 31. Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad is a really fun one with the mechanics of what it does. I think at the same time, this is probably better than the Vulcan Hello.
Yeah, it's not. Discovery does not have the most strongest of openings.
No, it's a shame because revisiting it occasionally here has made me remember there's still some good in it and some interesting one-off episodes as well. That it's not just what I mentally assume it is of season-long arcs and a lot of overly earnest pondering.
So I think the time loop episode is probably better. So okay, you know what? We don't get an Enterprise episode into the top 30, but 31 is still damn good innings for a show, which I feel has been, out of the non-animated shows we've been covering on the podcast, Discovery is the one that's been really struggling to catch up.
Yes.
Like, hell, we have Tuvix in the number 27 slot, so
I hold up that is.
Oh no, Tuvix is still a great hour of television.
Yes,
and then that one is immediately followed up by Meld with your moist fave Brad Dourif.
Oh my god, yeah, who also plays Doc Holliday in Deadwood.
Does he in Dead? Okay,
so good. No, sorry, Doc Cochran. Never mind, not Holliday. God, getting my docs mixed up. But yeah, he is so good in Deadwood and in a nice role. Not a rom-com role like you want, but he is a good person in Deadwood. Man, and it's shocking to see.
Is he still incredibly sweaty?
He is. He is very sweaty. I mean, it's the ancient West. Everyone's sweaty there.
Okay, you know what? That is good for me.
Yes, so that means we are now at 84 episodes on our list. We are still on our road to 100 when we will do Threshold. Yes. Yeah, it's gotta be an interesting one.
It's amazing how many we've actually covered so far.
Yes. Yeah. It's it's been interesting piecing together some of these shows like Enterprise and the original series where I've seen barely any of them. And seeing them out of order but based on a theme has been an interesting way of tackling them.
Yes.
So that's it for us for today. And you can check us out on Blue Sky under Casual Trek, I believe, is our profile there. So there's that. There is the Nerd and Tie site and the Nerd and Tie forums. As far as myself, you can find me at Faked Tales, where I talk about indie RPGs, comics, and other such things, and skyshark.itch.io for my comics and RPG supplements. And what about you, Miles?
And I can be found at mareadlabato.wordpress.com for my blog, which has currently got, as of time of writing, I've recently been reviewing the free 60th anniversary Doctor Who specials, and all great fun. And yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky, I believe, at Miles Reed Labato. And also, you have to check out our Ko-fi page at kofi.com/casual trek. Chuck us some doubloons, and we will make an episode based around a theme of your choosing. Or if you just want to torture us, just chuck us some doubloons. Just give us some money.
Yes. Yeah, please. We don't ask for much. Just money.
Just money.
Yes.
And next episode, we'll see you in the past. Or will it be in the future? As we decide to talk about wibbly wobbly timey what. Charlie.
Yep.
I did the thing. I said wibbly wobbly timey wimey.
Oh my god.
Okay,
You're
fine.
a real Doctor Who fan. I thought they tired of that years ago.
Okay, fine. We're gonna travel through. We're gonna indulge in some time travel. Hopefully, it won't jeopardize the Blinovitch limitation effect. And we'll see you in the past, or maybe the future. But no matter where we see you, be it in the Old West or today, the present day, always remember: do a Starfleet.
And eat a jelly baby, maybe made of jerky. I don't know. I can't remember what they liked in the Wild West.
The jerky. They like things made. They like sticks made of meat.
Eat a jerky baby. Actually, no, that sounds even worse.
That sounds like whatever Elon Musk's latest child. Or remember the British royal family.
Yeah.
Eat the rich. Do a Starfleet. Eat the rich.
You've been listening to Casual Trek by Charlie Etheridge Nunn and Miles Reed Labato. Music by Alfred Etheridge Nunn. Casual Trek's part of the Nerd and Tie network, and if you want to support us monetarily, because you love what we do that much, you can now do that by going to Ko-fi and looking up Casual Trek. There's a link in the show notes.